Yo, what's good, everybody? Back with another episode of the G Perspective. You already know yours truly, George Michael, aka GMike, and I got my boy CL the Kid on the scene. CL, how you doing, man?
What up, man? Doing good. Glad to be on.
Yeah, man. Happy New Year, and peace and prosperity for you and your folks without the new year. And I know you got a lot of things going on, a lot of things on your plate. So keep that hard work up, man. And this year is we're gonna own it. We're gonna own it.
Yeah, no, both of us. Yeah, we got good energy all around. So we're all ready for it. Honestly.
Yes, sir. And then we got we got NFL playoffs about to kick off next week with a wild card. We got the second half of the NBA season about to go underway, even though we still got the All-Star weekend coming up, but you know how it is until then. And then we got the college football playoffs ramping up this Saturday as well with the semifinal round. But we'll start off with the NFL because today is Sunday and we do have a Sunday night football game going on right now. Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings, they're both trying to get the first seed right now. So it's going to be a dope game to rewatch because we're obviously not going to watch it right now. But for sure, it's going to be a dope game all around, no matter what. Today, man, your Cincinnati Bengals, sorry to say it, have missed out on the 2025 playoffs because the Denver Broncos have beat the Kansas City Chiefs to get that final spot in the AFC wild card. How you feeling about this, my boy?
I mean, too little, too late. I mean, I know we had to win 5 straight games to even be in this position, and I was very much so aware of that. 5-6 weeks ago, as long as we were on the graphic when they showed the playoff standings and we were the last team in that wild card picture, I kept some hope alive. But realistically, we knew what it was. We did everything we could. The defense started to look a little better. That was something to build upon for next year. Obviously we got the T. Higgins contract situation, but that's looking a little more promising at this point. But draft-wise, that's where we're at this point. Linebacker, secondary, whatever it may be. But at least we were able to close the season strongly with a positive note. But we're gonna have to figure that out. That starting off with 1-4, 2-3, whatever it may be, every single year thing. It obviously came back to bite us in the end here, and we did everything we can to think that we were only one game short of making it in, and that's Chiefs ducking us there with the bench players. But don't blame them; they earned that right, so it is what it is.
Yeah, today when I was making my picks, I'm like, damn, man, I really want the Broncos to lose so you can get the Bengals in there, for you. And then on the top of that, just because you guys are the best offense in the league, it's like very exciting to see you guys play when Joe Burrow's out there, Jamar Chase Brown, T. Higgins. Like it's very exciting to see you guys play. But when I was doing my picks, I'm like, there's no way the Broncos lose to a backup team, and they're trying to get into the playoffs when they have a top 5 defense in the last 6 weeks, and Bo Nix is playing like an all-pro. It's too hard for me to pick the Chiefs to win.
No, I don't blame you. And there was no one who should have picked them. I know, realistically, Denver. I mean, the Raiders have shown moments, but Denver's that team that kind of give the Chiefs problems anyway, even when they do play their starters. So they knew what they had to do. They took care of business, and like I said, they earned the right. Chiefs took their time off. I would as well. There's no point in playing Mahomes or any of those guys when you're trying to get prepped. That's kind of the point, unless you're one of those people who believes. I don't know how you stand on it, where you don't want too much time off. You're going to get this week, and you're going to get a bye week. It's 2 weeks off, 3 weeks into the next game. Is that too much time off? I don't know how you are. What's your approach on something like that?
It all depends on the situation, right? So, like a little bit later, we're gonna bring that up too because all of the first round buys for the college football playoffs, they all lost. So that could be a little bit that comes into that. But in this situation with Mahomes, he has a messed up ankle. So for him to get 2 weeks off to rest that, he's gonna be watching film. He's gonna still be throwing the rock either in his house or outside in the backyard or at the practice facility with his teammates. He's still gonna be doing that, but he's not gonna be mobile. He's not gonna be on his feet so much so he could rest that ankle. And in that case, I do agree with that. That you should sit him for 2 weeks, and especially if you have the bye coming up.
Yeah, and when you get that kind of leadership, both from him and Andy Reid, you don't really have to worry about him coming in sluggish or not be prepared or they already know what they do. They're very well at it. They've been doing it for years, obviously, going for the three-peat. But, sucks to miss out. But here we are outside in both our teams.
Yeah. No, man. The Cowboys, man, they just this whole season has just been a clusterfuck. And dude, I'm ready. I'm ready for the offseason when it comes to the NFL. Ready. Ready.
Yeah.
But for you guys, man, Jamar Chase finishes first in the league for most receptions, most receiving yards, and most receiving TDs. So I'm pretty sure we can both say he deserves that contract 100%.
Oh, Jamar,
Uh,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah. Joe Burrow finishes first in the league in passing yards and passing TDs. And then this ultimately comes down to what you guys want to do with T. Higgins. Do you want to keep him or do you want to let him go?
I want to keep him. I think Yoshivas and some of these other guys. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Burton. He's got some off-field issues, and he has for most of the season. Not to say he's just troublesome all around, but he's never really found his place yet. A little maturing, needs to go down there. But when Higgins plays, I think we're consistently spread out. Now you look at, we've obviously had these O-line problems for years, and even though we have people say, they're not doing anything to fix that, we brought in Orlando Brown, right, from the Chiefs, which was a huge pickup. He was a little banged up this year, but even aside from something like that, we had draft picks, top 10 draft picks for years there, and almost all of them went to offensive linemen until the Jamar Chase situation. But I think with the five receiver spreads they like to do with Joe Burrow, where you're not necessarily leaning on extra people in the box for you. You need all the weapons you can get. And I think we don't have enough depth there with guys like Boyd gone and stuff like that to fill in the two role without T. Higgins. And I just think you got to keep him. I know it's unfortunate because you got to pay Jamar Chase probably even next year, if not, if you're lucky enough to wait till the next season. Um, Coming off a season like he just did, it's probably going to have to happen this year because he's going to make sure he gets his. But I'll keep him. I know the defense is, very thin, and you got to think about that. And Mike Brown does not pay people. The Bengals have never been a team. Like I said, we're the only team with an outdoor practice facility that's in the north. But that's going to change. We finally just got our stadium name rights and stuff like that. So financially, we're doing things a little better. We'll see if that helps at all. But realistically, I would love to keep him because I just think the offense and the team as a whole click way better. Obviously, more talent's always going to help, but
Mhm.
the trade-off between signing Higgins, signing Chase, and then losing out on more defensive players as we have each year now, it is tough. But I would just say keep Higgins and go all in on your draft defensively and just see what you can get. Take that chance
Yeah, definitely. I think you guys should keep Higgins. I mean, it's got to be a situation on both sides to help each other out because obviously you have to pay Jamar Chase. I mean,
Yeah,
I think it's a
yeah,
no-brainer now. Yeah, last year they wanted to franchise tag him and all this stuff if he was going to prove himself, and he did. He finishes top three in the top three categories for a receiver that is very important. So you got to pay Chase, right?
for
With
sure.
Higgins, I feel like the reason why Chase is so great. I mean, not a huge reason, but part of the reason why Jamar Chase is so great with the Cincinnati Bengals is because that T. Higgins spreads out the field.
Yeah,
If you're able to have a wide receiver two like T. Higgins that can catch 6 to 7 passes a game and get you a touchdown, and even last week he had 3 TDs. He was showing out. If you're able to keep those two together with a great running back in Chase Brown, an amazing quarterback in Joe Burrow, and they're even their tight end position is pretty solidified right now. If you keep all of that together, your offense is going to be one of the greatest offenses in maybe even NFL history, but for sure in the next 2 to 5 years.
for
So
sure.
if you let T. Higgins go, now all the pressure is going to be on Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow. Now you're going to have to find another wide receiver too, either in the draft or in the free agency, and then get this chemistry going again with Joe Burrow and all that. And it's like, why? Just work on what you need to work on. And it's not only the Cincinnati Bengals, it's any NFL team. Work on what you need to work on for your personnel and don't worry about what is already good. What's broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? Like just keep
Yeah.
it well-oiled machine together. Don't let it go to waste.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I know we've lost some guys on defense to, whether it's Tennessee, Atlanta, whoever over the past few years, guys like Jesse Bates and stuff. But realistically, Hendrickson leads the lead in sacks. Another great thing going for us on defense. I still like Hubbard. I don't, Mike Hilton's getting a little old. We don't know what his situation will be. He's kind of getting those short-term contracts. And
Yeah.
I don't really know about the secondary. We have a couple guys there that are hit and miss. But, I don't think on paper the defense is as bad as it's played. It started to kind of level out towards the second half of the year. I mean, obviously, like I said, too little, too late. But I don't know. I agree with you. I think if you get one of these teams that just has so many needs, then you can't afford to pay a guy like T. Higgins when you already got a guy like Chase. But I don't think we're that far gone as
No,
bad
I
as
don't
we've
think
been
so
on
either.
defense. Like I think a good draft this year and maybe one free agent signing could be enough to put us in a position because we're already in a position to be dangerous in the playoffs with that offense.
Yeah. And with that being said, what improvements other than personnel, or you could mention what positions you want to improve in the off season for you guys? What improvements do you need that you as a fan like, yo, I want to see
Sure.
this happen?
Sure. Definitely linebacker. You know, with these two high safety situations in football going on, everybody's doing it's kind of becoming tough for these linebackers to make tackles against wide receivers who are getting into those intermediate passes and stuff like that. And we are just terrible at it. I think our zone defense is probably the worst defense in the league. I don't have the numbers to back that right this second, but I just watching it and watching all these teams play each week, it's horrendous. The tackling is poor, and obviously, you can account for coaching for a lot of that. But I'm not out on Zach Taylor. I think he's an okay coach. I don't think he's overly creative offensive wise. Although I will say we've kind of been throwing in this kind of like a wheel route pass to the running back, but it's not fully out to the outside. It's more on the
Yeah.
inside hash play that I really like that I haven't seen a lot of teams using. But again, that just came in the past few weeks. So offensively, we don't even have a problem. I wouldn't, as we know. But defensively, Lou Anaramu or whatever, they give him a lot of praise as a coordinator, and you hear Collinsworth and all these guys, they hyped him up a lot for his defensive mind. I just don't know. I feel like we don't have the personnel to play the way he wants to play. However, I don't put that on him either because I know we don't really have that kind of roster. So I would definitely say linebacker to secondary needs to be attacked. We've lost all our veterans in the secondary. We went all our young guys, and they're not really panning out. Like Cam Taylor Britt, sometimes, like he looks the part, but he got a lot of late dumb penalties, and some of them are ticky tack, but they're there. It is what it is. So I for sure linebacker and secondary, and obviously the offensive line, but it's a problem. You want to keep Burrow healthy, but we've been able to overcome that. So I'm going to focus more on linebacker and safety and corner.
Yeah, I would say secondary for sure. I think there's a lot of
Yeah,
teams
we're a
out there
joke.
when like it's just like us. It's just like the Cowboys. Every team that plays your team or my team, they love to pass the ball. They love to go
Oh,
deep. They love to have at least like 35 pass attempts in the game and probably even complete 70% of those pass attempts. So it's like
yeah,
both our teams need to work on the secondary. I do agree with you there, and I think the linebacker position for you guys, yeah, it could need a little tune up. I'm not gonna say like you need that
yeah.
first and
Sam
foremost,
Hubbard's all right, but overall,
you know?
yeah. Nah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. I think
crazy,
it's
dude.
just a
It's
little
crazy. We
tilted.
scored like 35 points, 40 points, 35 points. We lost all those games. So, something's
Yeah.
got to give.
That's how you know it's defense. It's just for a regular fan out there. If you see teams that are putting up
Yeah,
40 points, that means the offense is great. But if they're giving up 40 points, that means the defense is horrible. So it's like
exactly.
you gotta
Trey
give and
Young
you gotta give.
problem.
Yeah, literally. But dude, no, I think there's a lot of upside for you guys. I mean, yeah, you guys started off slow, 1-4, 1-5, whatever it was. Towards the second half of the season, you guys ramped it up. You made some adjustments, and you got Burrow to play at an MVP type caliber player. Because if you guys were probably 10-6 or 11-5, I think he probably wins that. And but
Yeah,
there's a lot of upside for you guys going into the off season. I think number one thing for sure would to try to pair Jamar Chase with T Higgins again. Joe Burrow loves him out there. Another thing, obviously, to work on that secondary, and then to try to get some good draft picks for some backups because you never know when it comes to injury, for sure.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah, yeah. But jumping to your other team in the hardwood floor in the NBA, the Boston Celtics, they're actually pretty damn great. Um, Championship reigning champs right now.
Yeah.
They are 26-10, second in the Eastern Conference. Today they lost to the OKC Thunder on 105-92. Just to stick on that before we go on anything else, what you think about that game overall?
I mean, that second half that the Thunder put together defensively, and then obviously we just did the whole chuck up three thing, but it's only scored 26 points, whatever it is, 27 points, and that whole entire second half is
Yep,
our
yep.
lowest,
hmm
ridiculously by far for the past 5, 10
15 in
years.
the third, and 12 in the
Yeah,
fourth.
Yeah, unnecessary. Yeah, 27 points, right? But that's kind of it. Just is what it is with Celtics. Like that's what you're going to get. Missoula wants to shoot the three. He wants to shoot more threes than anybody. He's in love with that process. That kind of lose to the Warriors, become the Warriors kind of thing in the finals. So and then it paid off, right? So we end up winning a title doing it. So he's never going to back down from that. We're going to have games that look like this, or teams like OKC, teams like your Miami Heat in the past have been able to pressure us on the 3-point line, and we don't. We just take the bait. We don't attack the basket. Jalen
Yeah,
Brown might 1-2 step, but then take a mid ranger. He's not going all the way to the lane. Jason Tatum becomes too ISO dependent, settling for bad threes. Then it becomes so obvious. It's like the run on first down, run on second down. Now you have to pass on third and
yeah,
long. It becomes so predictable when he wants to go to the basket at that point. So I'm not going to make too much out of today's loss, but I do think this whole month where we struggled, we're kind of almost near a 500 team in the past 12 games or so, but I don't think that's too much of it. Everybody's kind of missed time. Tatum's missed a couple games. Brown missed a couple games. Porzingis, obviously. Even guys like Drew Holiday, Derek White, taking some time off. But I'm okay with what we got going on. I think overall, OKC is a real threat. I think they will probably go to the finals against us. This could be a
mhm,
finals preview. But I do worry about teams like Cleveland and New York because of their length on the perimeter. And I think if we don't learn while we're down to score in other ways, other than simply just throwing the ball to Porzingis and hope he can, get a switch onto a smaller guy, then it's going to get tough. We could end up being like, remember, Milwaukee won the title, and we thought that could have been not dynasty mode, but they were on the rise, and then they went
yeah.
away, right? Denver won the title, and we thought, man, no one's going to stop them next year, and then they weren't champs again. So we could easily be one of those teams if we don't make the adjustment. And I just don't think we're suited to make that adjustment because we've done so well playing the way we're playing. So today, not so much problem, but long term, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you guys are the definition of you live and die by the three. I think you
Oh,
guys
for sure.
are you going to be like that for a little while to come. Again, third quarter, 15 points, fourth quarter, 12 points, while OKC had 21 in the third and 29 in the fourth. And with their, in my opinion, MVP that's playing right now, Shea Gilgeous Alexander, 33 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals. It's a
Yeah.
lot in an NBA game.
Yeah.
He had 3 for 6 in 3 pointers, and then from the field, he shot 11 for 23. So not super efficient, but he got to the line and he got 8 for 8 free throws. So, for
Yeah.
him, he's showing out right now and against a well star-studded Celtics team that's really, important to show out there on the court, especially holding you guys to 92 points while they score 105. That's when you could tell that they came out in the second half. They used the home court advantage, the noise of the crowd, 100%. The energy of the crowd just gave them that effort to stop you guys from shooting so much because you guys went 9 for 46 in 3 pointers. So it's like, if you hit at least like four more, you guys are in the game. That's like a 105, 103 game. So
Yeah.
that tenacity on defense for sure probably hold you guys back a little bit. But you know, Drew Holiday, he went 1 for 6, 0 for 4 in threes, and he only had 2 points in the game. Yeah, he had 8 rebounds and 6 assists, but if you're trying to win against a team like you mentioned that you guys might see in the NBA finals, which I agree, I think you guys will, you can't be having games like this where you're I would say third star, fourth star maybe is only scoring 2 points.
No. Yeah, I agree, man. And it's rough because, like you said, the biggest thing out of that you take from it is they went into halftime and they made the adjustments. Like we had the 10-point lead going into their home,
Mhm.
at halftime. And we just don't do that kind of thing. I haven't seen us make an adjustment against any team that's a real threat in the past year or so. Like we've made nice little adjustments in games against Atlanta and against Detroit and Orlando and stuff like that. But when it comes to the top dogs that you're really going to face in the playoffs and get challenged 5, 6, 7 games, it's we're just going to keep going as we're doing, and
Yeah.
it's worked out because we have enough shooters to do that. Even guys like Al Horford are hitting threes, and it's one pass. 20 seconds left on the shot clock. We're still shooting up these same exact threes. First half, second half, doesn't matter what's going on. And like you said, 3 or 4 threes go in, it changes the whole perspective. And I think that's kind of the Boston way now is, well, 3 or more threes go in, we're right in that game. So just
Yeah.
stick to it. And it's like you said, live and die by the three. And we do a decent enough job to guard the perimeter with our length because between Tatum, obviously Derek White and Jalen Brown, accompanied with Horford, who moves pretty well as a big laterally, and so does Porzingis, and then Drew Holiday being a great defensive guard. We have enough talent to get away with bad habits, and it's just I don't want that to catch up to us. So I'm a little worrisome against a team like the Knicks in the playoffs, against Cleveland, who've just new coaching has them firing on all cylinders. And then, like you mentioned, I know you're only going to get one team from the West, but OKC is probably the last one I want to see because their defensive perimeter is great.
Yeah, yeah, it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah,
Your top two players right now, Jason Tatum averaging 28.5 points per game, 5.6 assists per game, 9.5 rebounds per game, while shooting 46.7% from the field and 36.9% from three. So Jason Tatum is having a pretty good
yeah,
year, in all regards. I
yeah,
think he's probably top five in MVP voting right now. Your second best player, Jalen Brown, is averaging 24.4 points per game, 4.6 assists per game, 6 rebounds per game while shooting 46% from the field and 33.2% from three. So he's actually having a good year as well. So your top two players, they're doing what they have to do for your team right now. And then with all that being said, with the Eastern Conference and how is it looking right now, do you believe that they can go to the finals once again? And do you think if they face OKC Thunder, we'll say, because it's the top team right now in the West, do you believe that they will go back to back?
yes. Mainly because of experience for the Thunder, and I don't know what I'm going to get from Cleveland. Right, so Cleveland has gone into what is it, the Knicks series and the Magic series last year. And it's almost like Indiana, where at one point in the season, they're like previous years, they've looked like a team that's just like you don't have an answer for. Halliburton shooting threes, Miles Turner shooting threes. They're moving the ball well. Guys coming off the bench as backup point guard, moving the ball around well. They were just very tricky. Enough defenders, enough length, enough mystery to them. I think Cleveland, when it's really important, it's a big game, big moments. They magically just get figured out by teams. Like the Knicks were able to figure them out pretty simply. Orlando, I mean, they don't have enough, too youthful and not enough shooters at the time to really give them a real challenge, but kind of even then. And I'm not saying Orlando's a pushover or the Knicks are a pushover, but um, Cleveland just kind of, you know, Jekyll Hyde is sometimes. It's 50-50 on what you're going to get. I think this year with Atkinson is coaching, they're way more consistent. Mobley's getting put in positions that are way faster and better for him to succeed. But I don't know if that's going to be the case come playoff time. They've looked like this other times, but I do think that they're a step better than they were. They're the biggest threat for us because they already kind of have always given us a problem, especially Donovan Mitchell. The Knicks, they're balanced now with Bridges starting to fill in better. If they go in with the healthy Bridges and OG, um, not to say that obviously Brunson and Cat are the key guys, but those two guys there, if they come in healthy into the playoffs, put them on Brown and Tatum, I think that's enough to kind of pesky us up and ruin us a little bit to the point where, yeah, I trust the Brunson defensively with Drew Holiday, but it can be a shootout, and we don't know what we're going to get all the time out of shootout. So
Mhm.
I think those are the two biggest threats in the East, but I do think that we're more experienced and we can take them out. Whereas out West, OKC, kind of like the Minnesota thing, where Minnesota upsets with Denver or whatever, and then they just kind of fold to experience the very next round. So I don't know if OKC is primed for a title run this year, but I do think that if they don't get it this year, then next year will be very dangerous. But everything says that OKC and Cleveland look the part right now. I'll just take our experience over them, even if we're not as you know flexible in the coaching.
Yeah, I think the coaching, the that ability, later on will probably get worked out. The whole adjusting and everything, when it comes to playoff time, I think he'll find ways, like how you're mentioning before. We got to find other ways to score, and it's not the three ball. I think that will happen. The good thing is that you guys have a lot of chemistry together. You brought a lot of players from that championship win last year. Signed Derek White, still kept
Right?
Drew Holiday. Christoph Porzingis is now healthy. Obviously, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown are there, and your bench is, they're putting in a little bit of work too, and it's remained the same bench as well. So I think that
Yeah,
experience part for sure is going to help you guys out. I think that you guys will win the Eastern Conference again. If Cleveland does give you guys a hardship, I would say it will probably go to 7. It just with Cleveland, it depends on what players are going to give them the consistency day in and day out, right? So I think Donovan Mitchell is going to give them that consistency for sure. I think Jared Allen will give the consistency. We're trying to
Yeah.
get multiple rebounds per game, so try to get 10 plus rebounds per game. I don't know if he'll be able to score 10 points every night, but it'll be good for them if he can 10 to 15. Darius Garland is another one that I'm kind of iffy on. Yes, he's a great player. I don't
Yeah.
disregard that, but his consistency does show at times, and especially in the playoffs. He'll go 2 games where he's putting up 20 to 25 points, and then he'll go another game where he'll only put up 10 to 12
Yeah.
points. And
He's
you
their
can't win.
Jalen Brown, you know?
Yeah,
Mm,
type shit,
yeah.
type stuff. And you can't win like that, and especially against a team like Boston where you live and die by the three, and most of the times they're living by the three. They ain't dying.
Yeah.
So if they're putting that many points, you gotta be scoring at will with them. But I think you guys make it back to the finals. I think you guys do play OKC, and I think you guys will go back to back, even though it's hard for me as a Heat fan to say that. But I think you guys will go back to back because of the inexperience of what you're talking about with OKC. Yes, they're a great team, young, talented. They hustle, they score at will, they can defend with the best of them, but they don't know how to win. And we saw that against the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA in-season tournament championship, where they got blown out. They got blown out
Yeah.
that second half because the
Yeah.
championship pedigree just took control for the Milwaukee Bucks and not for the OKC Thunder.
Yeah. And OKC doesn't always have the shooters to compete against a team that can do what they do at times. And then, a little asterisk with Chet Holmgren kind of being out and all that. I wonder what that impact will be. But I fully agree. Exactly what you're saying. That Buck situation, we've kind of had that talk before. And that was something that, like, you know, kind of, I won't say exposed them, but definitely maybe hesitant to just put them right at the top.
Exactly. Exactly. Talking about Chet Holmgren, do you think it's going to be a good fit with him and Hartenstein out there on the floor together when he comes back? Because Hartenstein was not playing when Chet Holmgren was on the court. He got back from injury after Chet Holmgren went out.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting blend. But I also feel like they have kind of that Jared Allen Mobley thing going on here because they
Mhm.
bring a little bit of different things to the table. And I'm not saying Hartenstein can't put the ball in the basket, but he's more of a high energy Mo Wagner kind of player where he can hit some shots, he can get you rebounds, he can get to the basket on like spin hooks and just a lot of energy towards the rim. But Chet Holmgren is just more talented offensively
Yeah.
than he is. So I think they're going to have to find a balance to be able to use them both. Not saying it needs to be a 50-50 split. Um, I just think it's going to be very matchup dependent because Chet, being as frail as he is, we know that. I don't know how he's going to do anything against someone like Jokic, right? Or
Yeah.
whoever.
It's
But
gonna be
I mean,
crazy.
not that anybody can, but you know what I mean, right? He's not going to be able to pesky him, even if it comes to Anthony Davis or something, one of that name. All these other bigs in the West that we're going to reference, that we could reference. I think that's where Hartenstein is going to shine a little more. You're going to need him if he can get in there and stay out of foul trouble and both these guys are healthy and you can get a rotation going with them in whatever way you need, uh, they're gonna need all hands on deck. Because like you said, from that Buck series, once you can get SGA isolated or put him in a situation where it's him or nothing else, they struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I want to see how that's going to work out. I think it's going to work out pretty well. I don't think it's going to, I think it's going to be something that they have to work on. I don't think it's going to work
Yep.
right out the gate. But it's going to be dope for both of them. Just like you said, Evelyn Mobley and Jared Allen. It's a great comparison right there. They can each get 10 rebounds a game, and that would be great for OKC when it comes to hustle and defense and trying to run down the floor whenever there's a missed shot and try to get some, cherry picking going on in that sense. But I think it's going to work out for them well throughout the playoffs, throughout the second half of the season when he comes back, because I think he's supposed to come back uh, in a few weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like like a month he'll be like
Yeah,
running and doing well,
running,
that kind of
running and
thing.
going.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah,
I
it's
think
like,
it's like 2, 3 weeks he's back on the court and after
mhm,
that, you gotta get prepped. But
yeah.
asking you something, brought it up. But where are you at on this Jimmy situation with Miami?
Oh man, I just got off of the reason I didn't put that topic up because I just got
I
off of a show right now called Miami Heat Zone on YouTube. Martel, thank
okay.
you for bringing me on that, by the way. Um, and we were just talking about that whole situation, man. And I see it as it's 80% or 90% Pat Riley's fault, and the rest is a little bit on Jimmy, right? And the reason I say that is because Pat Riley dropped the ball with Jimmy. He's dropped the ball with Dwayne Wade. He dropped the ball with Brown. He dropped the ball with Shaq. he dropped the ball with Tim Hardaway. He always dropped the ball with people because his ego just takes over, and like he's just a dude that thinks a certain way, and you can't tell him what it is, and he's not going to change his mind, his perspective, and it hurts us. It hurts us a lot sometimes, and then sometimes it doesn't. It creates a culture where we are going to be one thought system, and we're going to have an attitude, and we're going to play hard, and we don't care who we face. I don't care if you're 20 games above us in the rankings. We're still going to come at you, and we're still going to come at your next, which is all predicated because of his thinking. With that being said, the way that he's treat his players, he needs to tune up. He needs to change because some players don't like the fact that you're gonna come out here and say, "Oh, you should shut up if you're not out there playing on the court, if you're not healthy." Some players are gonna take that as disrespect, and they're gonna be like, "Yo, why you talking to the public like that about me when you could literally sit me down in your office and say that to my face in a private one-on-one conversation?" So, and I feel like Jimmy is that type of player that he's not going to take disrespect from nobody. And we've seen
No.
it with the Chicago Bulls. We've seen it with the
Minnesota.
Minnesota Timberwolves. We've seen it with the Philadelphia 76ers when they chose Tobias Harris over him. He was like, you know what? I'm out of here. So it's kind of going down the same road again. He wants to get paid and he wants to stay in Miami. He says that he wants to be in Miami because he loves the off court in Miami. So if you love the off court, that means you want to be around the off court. But it's the on court is which is giving us problems. And mainly it's because he wants to get paid and because we're not putting pieces around him to get him to where he needs to go. And which is another thing on Pat Riley's part that I think is his fault. You thought for the last 4 to 5 years that Tyler and Bam were gonna be those two players that can get you over the hump, and they've gotten us to the promised land, but we haven't we haven't escaped the promised land with the results that we wanted. We've been there twice, and both
Yeah.
times we've lost. Yes, both times we had significant injuries that brought us down the hellhole, and we couldn't get up from that against the Los Angeles Lakers. We didn't have Goran Dragic where he was
You
dropping
had
at least
nobody.
yeah, literally
Yeah.
against them, we had nobody.
Yeah.
But the one piece that I bring up is Goran Dragic because he was scoring 15 to 20 points a game. And
Yep.
when you're playing in the finals, you need that.
Yeah.
Against the Denver Nuggets, we didn't have Tyler Hero or we didn't have Terry Rozier that we brought in Terry Rozier to give us at least 10 to 15 points a game. And obviously for Tyler to give us 15 to 20 points a game. And that is what we lost as well. Now, not saying that if Goran Dragic was there against the Lakers or Tyler Hero and Terry Rozier were there against the Nuggets that we would win, but I think we would have a way better chance
I I think that I think the Nuggets were gonna win regardless, but I
regardless.
think that Lakers series was really influenced by the Dragic situation. Because even Dragic in Phoenix, with the Spurs and all that, that series, and when he first came up, he just had veteran presence right out the gate, a calming presence for a team that
Yep.
looked like they were starting to struggle a little bit and woke them up. And I think with you guys, he was kind of doing the same thing. He was kind of the other veteran that Jimmy needs. It doesn't have to always be your best player. It can be an Al Horford or Goran Dragic that's kind of balances you out and shields you out. And I don't think Miami has that outside of Jimmy Butler, and his personality doesn't really shine in that way. So
Yeah.
that was a huge missing piece. Yeah,
No. Very well said too.
yeah.
Just with the Jimmy side of it, the only thing that I don't like is that you can tell that there are NBA players around the league that don't want to play with Jimmy Butler or don't even
Oh
think
yeah,
about playing with Jimmy Butler because of his
Carl Anthony
attitude.
Towns.
Perfect example. He has an alpha mentality attitude that is you're not going to change the way that he thinks and he's going to come off as strong because that's the way that he is and he's blunt. And I can relate to that really. But with him he goes after a loss to the Indiana Pacers that they lost by 13. It wasn't even like crazy amount, but it was a significant loss because obviously we're playing a conference rival.
Yeah,
You don't want to lose to a conference rival. You want to show dominance or whatever. The way that he was playing on the court shows that he didn't want to be there. He didn't want to be on the court. And then after in the press conference, he throws his teammates under the bus a little bit, saying that he doesn't want to. He's not happy playing on the court, and like things are. He's sitting around. He's standing in the corner, and it's like your teammates have gone back for you for the last 4 or 5 years when
yeah,
people have asked, "Oh, how's Jimmy's attitude? Oh, why is Jimmy feeling like this? or Jimmy this, Jimmy that, and Bam goes to back for him. Tyler Hero goes to back for him. Kyle Lowry, when he was here, going back for him. Kevin Love, obviously, going back for him. And the list goes on and on. So it's like you throwing your teammates under the bus like that is something that I don't mess with. I feel like you should have just, yeah, show that you're upset because you're losing and because you're not getting paid and what you want, but don't be throwing your teammates under the bus because they have no control in what the front office does. So that's the
Yeah.
only thing on Jimmy's side that I don't like, that he's acting like a prima donna, and I feel like he needs to change that up a little bit.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because he, like you said, he doesn't bring. Miami doesn't pay people beyond their primes, right? They have a culture, like you said, and if you're not bringing value in other ways than just the basketball, and you guys aren't playing well enough to show that right now, um, it's going to be hard to even consider any kind of extension close to what you want. Like you look at the Yankees, I'm not to make a baseball thing, but they have a culture, they have a system, they have a way of being. And then they became, well, let's save some money, let's not be that team, let's dial back. The Suns take over.
And they started
Derek
sucking.
Jeter's contract's up. Yeah. Derek Jeter's contract's up, but this is Derek Jeter we're talking about. But they're like, we're not going to pay somebody big money outside of their prime, but they bring him back anyway because obviously, one, he's the face of the team. He's got history there. He still has some talent left, even if it's not at his prime. But he's a good calming presence. Brings leadership. He helps gel the team. There's a lot of other positive qualities you can bring. If Jimmy Butler's not playing great, what are the other positive qualities? He's throwing his guys under the bus. He's not really mixing into the lineup well, like you're saying, on the court rotationally. You're not getting him the shots he likes. It's become a 3-point game. He's a mid-range shooter. There's so many things there that if his personality is not clicking, if he's not uplifting people, if he's being a problem or a prima donna, it's going to be even harder to make it work. So, like I said, I also don't necessarily blame either side because I know like it's bumping heads there, two alphas. But what's your alternative? What are you trading him for?
And and
What do
that's
you want?
that's the other thing. That's the other thing there, that it's like teams, right when he came out and said that he wants to be traded, teams already know that he wants to get the hell out of there. So they're gonna be like, yo, you know what? We're gonna
Yeah,
lowball the Heat and we're gonna give him whatever we think what he's worth. And
yeah,
it's like there's three teams right now that we're talking to that I've read rumors about and I've heard is the Memphis Grizzlies, the Golden State Warriors, which I think that they already backed out of it, and Kaminga's injured for the next 3 weeks, so I don't think that's going to work out, and the Phoenix Suns, right? But it's like we're not getting any stars in return for that. We're only going to
nothing.
get role players and picks, and it's like we got to make a decision on whether you want to pay a player 50 to 60 million dollars a year, give him an extension that he's only going to play 50 to 60 games and then turn it up in the playoffs, or we trade him away now, get some assets in return, and we say goodbye and we start the next era with Tyler Hero and Bam
Yeah,
Adebayo.
yeah.
He's got to make
Because
a
even if you
decision.
brought in someone like Brandon Ingram or Zion, you're gonna have to pay them, right? And are they good enough to get you over the top? I don't know about Zion because he just needs to change scenery in general, and I just don't know what I'm gonna get until I see that.
I don't think
Brandon
either.
Ingram's not good enough to take you there, but he's not worth giving huge money to because that's not going to be great enough to warrant that. You're going to be in a blow it up situation. If you're going to do that, fine, but that's never really been the Heat way. They're more of a retool than a rebuild kind of team. But that's kind of the situation you put yourself in, and Jimmy doubling down on that by lowering his value in the market right now.
Yeah. Yeah. In my opinion, I think we find a way to work it out with Jimmy. We pay him because of the past of what he's done for us, and we know that he can put in the work and give us what we need in the playoffs. Uh, the thing is that if we're not putting pieces around them to win, even though this year Tyler Hero has proven a lot of us wrong, this year I think he
Yeah,
deserves an All Star right now. And the way that Bam plays really pisses me off. He's too passive aggressive on offense, and we need him to be taking 15 to 20 shots a game while
yeah,
scoring 20 points and grabbing 10 rebounds per night. He needs to be a 20-10 player, and he's not
yeah.
that. Yesterday, he only scored 4 points, and that was off
He's a
rip the
weird
free
dude.
throw.
He's a weird dude. He reminds me a lot of that Roy Hibbert Pacers year, where it was like, oh man, if you're gonna get this from Roy
What a
Hibbert all
comparison.
the time, we got a team. And then the very next year, this guy's doing nothing. And I'm like, you can't just show it in the playoffs or, big mo, which is great. I love that. That's when it shows if it's going to show. But you got a whole season going on here. And you're the number two. or perceivably could even be seen the number one with Jimmy out, and let's just say in between Bam and Hero, like these guys are playing 1-2 star roles, and he doesn't want to shoot. He's kind of in that Ben Simmons mode. Like I'm not saying in terms of jumpers, but just
Yeah,
like you said, way too passive. He needs to be I mean, but again, going back to Jimmy, Jimmy doesn't like to play with those kind of passive stars. He wants that aggression. Jimmy's very much a Kobe MJ personality. He just doesn't have the ability to take teams the way they did. So
exactly,
kind of a
exactly.
clash. I mean, I'm okay with you guys being down there causing problems and not bothering us right now. So that's been
Okay.
nice. But overall, in terms of the conversation, what are y'all guys gonna do?
I see it as we have a 2 week window, 7 game suspension.
Hmm.
It's either we gotta sign him or trade him before that suspension, because if he comes back and
Yeah,
we don't trade him, it's gonna be a hellhole in that locker room, and
yeah,
it's gonna be a lot of turmoil. It's gonna be a lot of aggression that's being either you're gonna be physically seen or mentally and emotionally seen. So it's not good at all until the situation gets resolved one way or the other. And
yeah.
in my opinion, I think, like I said, I think we pay him and we go with what we got. But if you're not gonna pay him, then we got to trade him away for some role players, because we're not gonna get a star in return for him right now. No one's gonna
No,
give us a star.
no, nobody, nobody.
But yeah,
So,
man, a lot of turmoil in the Miami Heat, but a lot of turmoil in the NBA alone. You guys are sitting pretty right now, and I think you guys are gonna have a good rest of the year. The All Star Weekend is around the corner, so the second half of the NBA season is gonna be upon us. So we're excited about that, and then we got playoffs after. But right now, the playoffs that we got going on, and we're in the middle of those playoffs, are the college football playoffs. And dude, just to mention, like we were talking about before, this was the first year that the college football playoffs have done a 12-team format, for you guys that do not know. So there is a bye week for 4 teams. And that bye week was 2 weeks ago. Last week, they played their game. And all 4 teams that had the bye week lost. Before we get into the scores and all of that, just to speak on the bye week situation for these college football teams, do you believe it was a mistake for the committee to do this as a whole, because the bye week is affecting these teams of not playing? Or do you think it was just a coincidence why all these 4 teams lost?
I'll say it's a coincidence. I mean, the NFL's had the bye week forever now, and they're even doubling down on that even more so with more teams in the playoffs.